Welcome on in, my Ashwings, to the next installment of A to Z, the Commoner series in Flesh and Blood. Today, we are taking a look at our next assassin of the same name but of a different ability, Arakni Solitary Confinement. Now, while the previous Arakni only did the stuff in regards to looking at the top of your opponent's deck and being able to choose whether or not it stays on top or goes to the bottom, Arakni Solitary Confinement has one less life than their counterparts, and also says your first attack with stealth each turn gets go again. This is the young version of the hero we all know in Classic Constructed, Slippy, but only affecting themselves as opposed to the opposing hero as well. So your opposing hero does not get stealth, and Arakni Solitary Confinement is not a chaos talent either. So no chaos cards for Arakni Solitary Confinement. But this is more of a go wide strategy for this hero. Again, you have sometimes where assassins like to go a little bit more tall, but this is kind of a do they have it, do they don't situation. And this is what drew me to play Slippy in the Classic Constructed format, and notably what has always intrigued me about Arakni Solitary Confinement in these young hero formats, such as Commoner, in which you get to send a stealth attack, and if you have the reaction, you can certainly go ahead and play it at that reaction step to get the on-hit effect. But if you don't have the reaction, or if your opponent thinks you have the reaction, they might block poorly and proceed to not make the correct choices when attempting to block out your stuff. The downfall, of course, of Arakni Solitary Confinement here is that a lot of the very powerful, majestic stealth cards that we all know and love are obviously not in the format. So you need to play a little bit more sneakily in other situations, such as playing cards like Isolate, which has Dominate in and of itself, which is a nice endgame way to win, paired along with some of these attack reactions. And then even Backstab, which says that defense reactions can't be played this chain link. Most heroes are going to be running some kind of defense reaction, and if they are, you are going to go ahead and just say, I don't want to do anything about that. Make sure that you don't get to play those cards, and you get free damage. But moving into the equipment, we have pretty much the same here. Blade Beckoner Helm, Blade Beckoner Plating. We have the Danger Digits to flick a dagger and mark our opponent, should we need to do so. And then, of course, Snapdragon Scalers. Now, Snapdragon Scalers allowing us to go a little bit wider on some of our final turns, but notably does not block. So sometimes it feels bad. But in the main deck here, for our main 40, we're running the 2 Backstab, which of course says it's a stealth card and defense reaction cards can't be played this chain link. This notably was a rare in Outsiders, but the red version specifically was brought into Commoner and downshifted in Commoner when the Hunted came out. So Backstab is now available for Commoner. Pretty cool because, again, with all the defense reactions existing in this format, it's nice to have that option. Desires of Flesh, obviously a great card here. You get to essentially banish the top card of your opponent's deck if it hits, and then if it banishes an attack action card, you get one life. It might not hit to gain you that life, but the threat of banishing a top card of your deck is still good, of your opponent's deck, I should say. We have both the red and the blue infects. Blue infect at 1 is still enough for your opponent to possibly need to block 4, because if you do have the Razor Reflex or you have a Razor's Edge, a red Razor's Edge more specifically, you can bump it up to 4, which then gets through a breakpoint. So, and even at 1 is very difficult to block. So when you think about the late game, when your opponent has to give you those cards, if you come in for 1 and your opponent blocks with 1 card from hand, and then you Razor's Edge this card to get it to a breakpoint, that allows you to then push more damage through. You give them Bloodrot Pox token, and then you can go about continuing your chain and having them rip the rest of the cards out of their hand so that they can't block out properly. Mark of the Black Widow, the best disruption, I think, in Commoner for Assassin is Mark of the Black Widow, just because if your opponent's marked and this hits, they banish a card from their hand. Notably, you have the one-time deal of swinging a Danger Digit at a Mark of the Huntsman at your opponent. So if you do swing a Mark of the Black Widow and you have something to get over their initial block with an attack reaction, you can then, of course, go ahead and Danger Digits, kill one of your Mark of the Huntsman to then mark your opponent. And then when this hits, they also banish a card from their hand. So they've blocked with a card and then they've also notably lost another card from their hand. This is going to be really effective into aggro strategies as well. Mark of the Prey, another way to mark your opponent. Again, it's not necessary that you mark, but it's pretty cool to be able to go Mark of the Prey. Your opponent go, okay, there's no real on hit besides marking, and then swing this. And then have 2 attack reactions in hand. Like, it's pretty good. Pick to Pieces, this is a way to get over some additional damage and to prevent any, or to deal with any kind of damage prevention effects. So normally it would come in for 3, but if you play an attack reaction, it gets another +1, and the damage it deals can't be prevented. So it bumps it to 7 as opposed to 6 normally. So it again allows you to keep in that breakpoint range and threaten that additional damage to your opponent. Pick up the point. You're going to at least flick a dagger, and when you do, pick up the point is going to allow you to get that dagger back. Notably, if you mark your opponent, Mark of the Huntsman gets a huge amount of value, because if this is attacking a marked hero, it gets +1, and it already has native go again. So even if your opponent is marked, you have a blue in hand, you can pitch that blue or even a yellow to swing Mark of the Huntsman for 2, which is like super above rate comparatively. Prowl, really great. This is a great way to start your turn because you're attacking, and then your next stealth gets +1, so it brings it to a breakpoint. And then, of course, you have your attack reactions to bring it up even higher. We have the Razor Reflex, Razor's Edge in red and yellow, as well as the 2 sides of the blade and Scar Tissue as some reactions here. Scar Tissue mainly, again, for daggers, but the Razor's Edge, Razor Reflex, and even the 2 sides of the blade, luckily this can be used for either or. You know, if you're attacking with a dagger and you needed to get +3, you can go ahead and attack with the dagger and have it hit, or you can have target attack action with stealth get +3, and when it hits a hero, mark them. So versatile in the way that it plays. Scar for a Scar if you're on the back, and if you're on the back foot, you know, if you're at one life less than your opponent, you can send in a Scar for a Scar, then send in a stealth card, and then send in another stealth card. So a 3-card chain link is pretty good. Again, notably, you have Snapdragon Scalers to get you a little bit farther too. Sink Below, great defensive tool. You're really just going to want it on those specific turns in which they're trying to get disruption. Otherwise, you can filter it back into your deck by pitching it to a dagger or to any of these other effects. And then Throw Yourself at Them is another endgame plan. You might have a dagger still up and your opponent might be at 1. There's not a lot of prevention abilities that exist in Commoner, so getting hit with a dagger by a flick effect is incredibly hard to prevent. And when you look at something like Throw Yourself at Them, all it does is it costs 1 resource, you play it, you get to flick a dagger at your opponent, and that's it, right? So if they're at 1 and you're trying to leak a little bit of that damage through, or even if you're just trying to find an opportunity to mark them and you just can't seem to do it, Throw Yourself at Them is a great way to go about doing that too. And then our inventory, we have Arcane Polarity, Battlefront Bastion, and Hunted or Hunter. So this is going to be mainly into heroes that like to do any kind of reacting. So any kind of warrior or other assassin, or even if you look into something such as, I mean, ninjas even do attack reactions and stuff there too. So Hunted or Hunter is going to be big into kind of being able to read your opponent and what they're able to do. Battlefront Bastion is great into the illusionist matchups, and it's also just a 3 cost 7. You can even use its block ability really well. You can block something like Kadachi for 2, and then block another 1 additional point of value on the next turn if your opponent comes in for a breakpoint. And then Arcane Polarity, mainly for any arcane heroes. You're not going to run in this into anything else. And notably, this is your only prevention, really your only salvation for arcane heroes. So you notice you don't have any null rune. That's because we can't really afford to make null rune decisions. And so because of that, we just kind of don't worry about it. There's a world in which maybe Spell Void would be fine to use, maybe even just Spell Void 2. But at the end of the day, I think being able to just kind of threaten a bunch of this damage is more important, and it's going to help us continue to keep the tempo in our favor. So let's go ahead and get Arakni Solitary Confinement into the oh so wonderful Talishar queue for Commoner and see if we can go ahead and get some wins under their belt. And our first opponent here is a Gravy Bones. Now, I've not played a Gravy Bones in Commoner except at US Nats, so it's going to be a very interesting match here. I would say we're probably okay with where we're at. We probably don't need to make any changes. So I think we're just going to submit and send it here. So notably, we have a isolate. This could be a world in which we try to rip cards from our opponent's hand. I think we might just try to save everything here, though. Maybe we'll keep the Mark of the Black Widow. No, you know what? I think we're just going to isolate here. That way we can leak some damage. Because really, that's what this is all about, is leaking some damage here. Let's go ahead and do this. And then let's do this. So what, leaks 6 damage on turn 1 and leave no arsenal, though. I think is kind of bad. Yeah. I think we'll just leak a little bit of damage here. And then we will close combat chain. I will then go ahead and move to arsenal this card. Okay. Pretty good hand, I would say. Not terrible. We could even flick here. Right, we can flick a dagger. And then we can Mark of the Black Widow. Razor Reflex, Razor Reflex. And then Infect for 1. So we'll see what they get. Right, Golden Tipple. Notably, they don't have a weapon. So these equipment pieces do not do as much as we'd like them to. But 2 damage is fine. I'm fine taking 2. We know that they blocked with a bark. They have a rifting. Their next non-attack action card is though it were an instant. Interesting. So 4 damage there. That's fine. We kind of want to keep our whole hand. So only if it hits. And of course there's no value there for it. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to play. There's a world in which we do this first. So we flick. And we're going to deal dagger damage to our opponent. Yes, I will. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do it to mark them. Never mind. I guess there's a silly reason I did that. I guess we're just trying to threaten damage here. So, Mark of Black Widow. It's okay. We learn. We'll flick this other dagger. There's not a world in which we're swinging it. So, I also notably don't have gold or anything here. So, rally. They can discard for another +3. Let's flick here. Okay, I do. I want to bump it to here. I want to make sure they discard a card. Cool. So got some damage through, and then they're definitely losing top card of their deck. If I get a pick up the point, that would be sick. But that's okay. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We did not get to pick up the point. And also notably a scar tissue, which feels bad. So they did get a Swabby off the top. They can't play it. So we block. I think we just block with. Maybe we'll keep the scar tissue down there in case we are able to buy back the dagger. Although I don't want to sit with something bogging up my arsenal. It also only blocks 2. I think I'll do this. I think I'll just block that here. Okay. I will send a Desires of Flesh at my opponent. More than likely, they're going to block 3. And notably, my cards banish top card of the deck, which is really good because it means they don't go into here. So, block 3. Yeah, that's fine. I guess I could have made it like a 3-parter kind of deal, huh? All right. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So we're going to get some damage off here. And we're going to get them with a Blood Rot Pox, which they're probably not going to actually hurt themselves with. A Prowl? Ooh, this is a pretty fucking good hand, actually. We're going to say no to this because we don't really care. There's still not a blue in there. Not a blue that has come up. Swiftwater Sloop for 6. Okay. Okay. So they're still going to take 2 to Blood Rot. What's a card we can keep here? I mean, our turn is literally Prowl. It can be Ravenous Rabble, Prowl, Mark, Razor's Edge. Like, I think it's just a W here, right? So, especially since we have not seen any other allies in their deck, I don't know that they are. There's going to be a world in which they're just not going to have enough allies. And I think that's where we're going to catch them. And we have no daggers, so they don't get a value off this one here. That's fine. We then do this. All right. If they say no blocks here, I'm very curious because I could Razor's Edge here. But I definitely want to wait. All right. I mean, we don't get to kill here, so then we just send this for 4. They're going to block for 3. Try to keep a card. Blocking for 4. And I'm definitely going to try marking you. Cool. All right. They got to keep a card. They're going to probably arsenal it. Yep. And then notably, we get to do that thing again where we're going to send a Desires of Flesh. We have the attack react in hand. And I think we're going to wait to play it on this one here because they're going to have to discard a card here. Okay. I'm not going to react on that. Coast card. Okay. Blocks for 5. I guess theoretically we can kill here, right? Unless they have a D-react. No, don't get greedy. We need to confirm. We need full confirmation that something is due to happen here. So. Okay, are they getting a card from their hand? Yeah. So blocks 4. We will just do this though. Confirm the pump. Confirm the pump. And then that is good game. All right. So a 1 on our belt. Let's see if we can do a quick rematch and see how that goes. So first hand here, pretty good actually. I think we might even just do a Ravenous Rabble. We're gonna see if we can catch him. Okay, we got a blue on top, so 2 damage. Doesn't feel so great, but that's fine. That's actually like huge for us that we get that instead. I will then do this. Oh, okay. You're just ripping cards, your own cards out of your hand, huh? Sure. Trying to prevent the damage there, I guess. We'll hit him. I don't think we're gonna mark him though. Yeah, there'd be no reason to mark yet, so we're not gonna do it. We can do it on our own turn. So we're gonna hit him for 1, and then we are just going to arsenal this card. Okay. not a terrible. I mean, this hand is not great at all, honestly, but we can attack with a dagger, scar tissue, lead the charge. They got a blue in there. I don't know how they're going to get anything else in there. They have to have allies. Rally the rear guard. Are they going to discard or rally the rear guard? I'm just going to sink below here. I am going to choose to sink, I think. Well, I don't know. Prowl, maybe? Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so they couldn't even do anything with the AP. I'm not sure what they were looking for on that scenario, but they were looking for something. Let's just do this. Send in a dagger, get a little crazy with it. Probably won't block this because it's just 1 damage. There's no reason to block with a whole piece. All right, so then we can scar tissue, bump it up to 4, and on hit mark. I will choose to not destroy the Mark of the Huntsman since it hunts them already. And then I will play a Mark the Prey, which is going to keep them marked. Close the combat chain. They have a pretty good hand that they want to keep, so it's unfortunate that we had a thing there. Restless Bones for 4 go again. They're going to try and get Chowder out. There's a world in which I think we just say no blocks here, because we want to take advantage of that scar for a scar. Sloop. Okay. What do we need to block here? We need to block 4 or 2. We need to block 2 on this right now, right? So, well, we can block like this. Right? That takes 4, brings me down to 11, which is perfect. And notably, he can play Chowder, I think. Right? He attack with a blue Restless. So he can attack with a Chowder, play a Chowder. But he can't. Yeah, he would need to use that. Yep. Chowder, and then he can attack with it for 3. Oh, he's gaining a lot. Nope, he's attacking for 3. Okay. This might be a world in which I... No, I don't really care. I don't need to do all that. And now, notably, like, Chum is easy to... Or not Chum. Chowder is easy to kill. But I think we're going to just try and kill them instead. I could also do this at Gravy. Send Desires of Flesh at Chowder, and then send a dagger with another +1. That might be what I do. This at Chowder. Cool. The world in which I probably can mark them. I don't really know that I care to do that right now, though. So it's just damage. So, and notably, we have a D-React in Arsenal. So I'm wondering if that 3 damage to him would have mattered. Looking at it now. Okay, 2 coming in. Don't really care about this 2. They got a Rigor Mortis in here, so that's a whole dagger that just kills them. It's pretty good. Yeah, so we don't care. I'm gonna probably send a boat if available. But but the boat's probably only going to be for 7 or 6. They activate Gravy Bones ability. Scouter in there. They're going to probably try and play Rigor Mortis, but blue has not hit the thing yet. Okay. I don't know why they popped this. There'd be no. Well, I guess because they'd have to play it. I see. Does my turn kill them? Throw stuff out them. Pitch. No, let's not block. Let's not block. We essentially kill them this turn from what I can tell here. So we're going to go ahead and we are going to do this. So we can throw yourself at them. This, pitch this, flick a dagger, attack with the other dagger too. So that'll hit them for 1 here. I do not want to mark them because there's no reason for me to do so. Yeah, this card's probably better in Arakni Web of Deceit than anything else. So we got the block here. Pretty good, because that's going to help us. That's going to help us a lot. So we're then going to go ahead and come in with a Infect for 3 at Gravy. Now, again, we don't have a kill here, but they are going to have to give us cards from their hand, probably 2. Like, kill Cuddy or not kill Cuddy, I guess is the question, but... We're getting them closer. We're going to want to keep the dagger specifically for kill range here. Okay. 2 cards in hand. They're effectively going to have to choose whether or not they want to attack me for 4 or not. This hand kills, I think. Pretty sure. Okay, they're attacking me for 4, and that's all they're doing. To keep an arsenal. Okay, that's why we kept this card. We are going to say no blocks. You're going to dereact. I am not going to dereact anything. We're going to pick up the point. We're going to prowl. We're going to mark the Black Widow, and then we're going to raise edge. So we're going to try and rip everything we can from our opponent's hand. And hope they have an ally. Because right now they have what? They have 1, 2, 3, 4 allies out of the entire deck so far. And also notably, we have a Flick standing. So Flick will be pretty good. I will not pay a resource to get a dagger back. That's fine. Okay, they're going to block 2 here. Interesting. I'm going to play Prowl at Gravy Bones. So we're gonna have to hope he's got allies in his hand. He probably does. I mean, if he's blocked with a thing there. Sweet. Okay. So notably, yeah, they're gonna have to block for 4. And that means we get a W here, because I'm pretty sure this is not a dereact in hand. Okay, block 2, bump it to 6. And that's a game. All right. So those were our matches into Gravy Bones. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at how we feel the deck worked as a quick recap. So overall, I think the deck performed a little bit better. Obviously, we just went into the same Gravy Bones twice. Normally you don't get a lot of opportunity to get a lot of practice in the Talishar queues. So I think people like to do a lot of these quick rematches often. But I do think it is like pretty efficient. Effectively, if we can present some kind of on hit every single turn, or at least damage in 2 different chain links, sometimes even 3, it ends up working out pretty well. Even that turn where we were able to send a throw yourselves at them, and then send a stealth attack, and then use my 2 floating to send in a dagger, and then send another stealth attack. That kind of weaving allows for your opponent to make incorrect blocking decisions in some situations, and that helps get your game down a little bit here. Obviously, we could have gotten a little bit crazier and tried to mark earlier, but frankly, the point of the entire deck is to force your opponent to do incorrect blocking. And I do believe this deck does pretty well at that. I do say, though, that I think Throw Yourself at Them will probably be the card that I cut. The only reason being is that being able to flick is really nice, but starting with a flick does not help me any, especially since I don't have any kind of additional effect like, +2 on something if it's marked or whatever. Because normally you can attack with this and flick something at your opponent. You're usually going to want to be getting rid of these because they're blues, right? You're normally going to want to pitch these and put them to the bottom of your deck. That way you save them for the end game when you have a dagger again, and you can just go ahead and threaten that additional 1 point of damage every single turn. There are even worlds in which flicking with your danger digits early in the game can give your opponent a false sense of security into thinking that they are never going to have to deal with a flick effect again until you send this at them. And then they're going to have to go, oh, shoot, like I wasn't prepared for it. And then you hit them with it. So there's a world in which it's good. I think the way that I used it in those matches, just because I had to be a little bit more aggressive, I feel like it was not correct, just because you don't get a lot of value of marking your opponent when it flicks them. You very well could utilize this if you make one of these daggers like a Spider's Bite, for instance. Spider's Bite being able to make your next attack actions you block with block for one defense point less. So that way, the next time you come in with an attack, it will probably flick the the 3s will block for 2s and so on and so forth like that. So maybe Mark of the Huntsman and Spider's Bite is the better way to go about playing it, just because you have the opportunity to flick the Spider's Bite and then go in for it. And then really you have your pick up the points later on in the game to choose whether or not, based on the cards you have left in your deck, is being able to mark your opponent more important, or is it being able to reduce the amount of defense value they have in their attack actions better. So those are things we can certainly try. And of course, if you end up trying them at home, please let me know how they work out for you. If you have any, tips or tricks or anything you might want to add to the deck to make it a little bit more consistent, please make sure to go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from everybody. And if you liked today's video, make sure to go ahead and hit that like button. You can subscribe to the channel as well if you enjoyed this commoner content. As I said, we are going to be doing an A to Z of all commoner heroes in the current High Seas format for commoner. So hopefully we can get through everybody by the time Super Slam comes out. But even if we don't, no worries. There are probably several of these heroes who do not see any kind of change at all. But we'll have 4 new heroes to at least talk about in the commoner format. So if you enjoyed that, make sure to go ahead and subscribe. I appreciate it a lot. If you really want to, you can become a channel member. We do have channel member join links in the description below. So if you do wish to go about doing that, feel free. We also have a Discord in the description below. So if you do want to join our Discord, it's just a community Discord for myself in which I can talk amongst everybody and we can all talk amongst each other about commoner and budget formats that we enjoy, and we can still even talk about CC because I just love yapping about Flesh and Blood. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your support, and continue to have fun in the Flesh and Blood. I will see all of you beautiful Ashwings in our next installment of A to Z, the Commoner series.